She had 7 minutes. 7 minutes to get to the most important exam of her life, or remain in poverty forever. But when Maya Sterling saw a dying girl in a rain-slicked alleyway, she didn't look at her watch. She looked at the girl's blue lips. She made a choice that cost her everything she had worked for. She missed the exam. She lost her future. She went home to an eviction notice, convinced her life was over. She was wrong, because the girl she saved wasn't just anyone. She was the only sister of Adrian Blackwood, the most dangerous man on the West Coast, and at 8 a.m. the next morning, a phantom black Rolls-Royce wasn't just parked outside her crumbling apartment building. It was waiting for her. The rain in Seattle didn't just fall, it punished. It hammered against the cracked pavement of 4th Avenue, turning the gutters into rushing rivers of grey sludge. Maya Sterling shielded her backpack with her body, her knuckles white as she gripped the straps. Inside that bag was her admission ticket to the state bar exam, 3 sharpened Sector 2 pencils, and a future she had starved herself to afford. She had spent the last 4 years waitressing double shifts at the Greasy Spoon, studying by the flickering light of the kitchen exhaust hood, surviving on instant noodles and sheer desperation. She checked her cheap wristwatch. 7:53 a.m. The testing center was 6 blocks away. Doors closed at 8 a.m. sharp. No exceptions. No mercy. "I can make it," she whispered, her breath misting in the freezing air. "I have to make it." She took a short cut through a narrow alley behind a high-end nightclub that had been shuttered for the morning. It was a calculated risk. The alley was known for drug deals, but it would shave 3 minutes off her run. She splashed through a puddle, her cheap canvas sneakers soaking through instantly. She kept her head down, counting the seconds in her head. 1, 2, 3. A low moan broke her concentration. Maya faltered, her feet skidding on the wet asphalt. She told herself to keep running. She told herself it was just a drunk, a junkie, someone sleeping it off. If she stopped now, the scholarship, the law degree, the escape from poverty, it all vanished. "Don't look back," her mind screamed. But her heart, that traitorous thing that had always made her too soft for this hard city, forced her to turn. Slumped against a dumpster, half hidden by a pile of soggy cardboard, was a girl. She couldn't have been more than 19. She was dressed in a silver cocktail dress that cost more than Maya's entire life earnings, but now it was mud-stained and ripped. Her blonde hair was matted to her skull, but it was the color of her skin that stopped Maya dead. Blue. Maya looked at her watch. 7:56 a.m., 4 blocks. "Help!" The girl wheezed. It wasn't a scream. It was a ghost of a sound. Maya looked at the end of the alley. The testing center was visible in the distance, a beacon of warmth and success. Then she looked at the girl, whose eyes were rolling back into her head, foam forming at the corner of her mouth. "Damn it!" Maya sobbed, a tear mixing with the rain on her cheek. She dropped her backpack. The sound of it hitting the puddle felt like a gavel banging down on a death sentence. Maya sprinted to the girl, sliding on her knees. She checked the pulse. Thready, weak. The girl wasn't just cold, she was overdosing or poisoning. Her airway was obstructing. "Stay with me!" Maya shouted, tilting the girl's head back, clearing the airway with professional precision she'd learned from a panicked CPR course years ago. "What's your name? Can you hear me?" "Lee. Lie." The girl choked out before her body seized in a violent convulsion. Maya scrambled for her phone. Dead battery. Of course. "Help!" Maya screamed, her voice echoing off the brick walls. "Someone help!" No one came. The city was deaf to the screams of the alley. Maya knew she couldn't wait. She hooked her arms under the girl's shoulders. The girl was dead weight, slippery and cold. Maya, who weighed $110 soaking wet, gritted her teeth and heaved. She dragged the girl toward the main street, her muscles screaming, her lungs burning. "Come on, Lily," Maya panted. "Don't you dare die on me." She reached the main road just as a delivery truck rumbled past. She threw herself in front of it, waving her arms like a maniac. The driver slammed on the brakes, skidding to a halt inches from her legs. "Are you crazy, lady?" the driver bellowed, rolling down the window. "She's dying!" Maya screamed, pointing to the girl on the sidewalk. "Take us to Mercy General, now!" The driver saw the girl's condition, and his anger evaporated. He jumped out, helped load Lily into the cab, and they sped off. Maya sat in the back, holding Lily's hand, rubbing it to generate heat. She looked out the window as they passed the testing center. 8:05 a.m. The doors were closed. The proctors were reading the instructions. The life Maya had built, brick by painful brick, was gone. She slumped back against the dirty seat of the truck, the smell of diesel filling her nose, and wept silently as the stranger squeezed her hand back. The next 24 hours were a blur of misery. At the hospital, nurses had swarmed Lily, whisking her away behind double doors. A stern-faced administrator asked Maya for details. Maya gave them the alley, the symptoms, the first name, Lily. When asked for her own information, Maya hesitated. She didn't want a reward. She didn't want to be involved. She just wanted to go home and mourn her life. She gave a fake name, Mary Smith, and slipped out the side exit while the security guard was distracted. She walked the 5 miles home in the rain. When she arrived at her basement studio apartment on the south side, a neon pink piece of paper was taped to the door. Final eviction notice. Pay by 5 p.m. tomorrow or vacate premises. She had exhausted her savings on the exam fees. She had no job. She had called out of her shift to take the exam, and her boss, a tyrant named Greg, had fired her via text when she didn't show up to work or the exam. Maya collapsed onto her mattress, which lay directly on the floor. She stared at the water stain on the ceiling that looked like a weeping eye. She didn't sleep. She just lay there, the cold seeping into her bones, replaying the moment she dropped her backpack in the mud. "I saved a life," she whispered to the empty room, trying to make it feel like a victory. That has to matter. That has to count for something. The universe remained silent until 8:00 a.m. the next morning. Maya was shoving her meager belongings into garbage bags, preparing to be homeless, when the building shook. It wasn't an earthquake. It was a sound, a low, powerful rumble of an engine that cost more than the entire city block. Then, silence. A moment later, a knock on her door. Not the frantic pounding of the landlord, but 3 precise, heavy raps. Maya wiped her eyes, pulled on her oversized grey hoodie, and opened the door a crack. Standing in the dim hallway was a mountain of a man. He stood 6'5", wearing a charcoal suit that strained against his shoulders. He had a scar running through his left eyebrow and an earpiece coiled behind his ear. "Maya Sterling?" the man asked. His voice was gravel and Russian vodka. Maya's heart hammered. Had she witnessed a crime? Was the girl she saved involved in something illegal? "Who's asking?" "My employer would like a word," the man said. He stepped aside, gesturing toward the street. Maya hesitated, then looked at the garbage bags behind her. She had nothing left to lose. She grabbed her keys and stepped out. Parked at the curb, shining like a black diamond amidst the rusted Toyotas and broken glass of the neighborhood, was a Rolls-Royce Phantom. The windows were tinted so dark they looked like voids. A small crowd of neighbors had gathered, whispering, pointing. The giant man opened the rear suicide door. The interior was cream leather and walnut wood. "I'm not getting in there," Maya said, her voice shaking. "Ms. Sterling," the giant said calmly. "If we wanted to hurt you, you would already be gone. Please. It concerns the young woman from the alley. Lily." Maya swallowed hard and slid into the car. The door clicked shut, sealing her in a vacuum of silence and the scent of expensive cologne and leather. The car didn't head toward the police station. It headed toward the hills, the Gold Coast where the tech moguls and old money lived. They wound up a private road, through massive iron gates that bore a crest of a wolf and a dagger, and pulled up to a mansion that looked more like a fortress. Modern, sleek, made of glass and steel, perched on a cliff overlooking the Pacific. The giant, whose name she learned was Victor, escorted her into a living room with ceilings 30 feet high. "Wait here," Victor said. Maya stood awkwardly in the center of the room, clutching the hem of her hoodie. She felt small, dirty, out of place. "You're the girl who missed the bar exam." The voice came from the balcony above. It was deep, smooth, and colder than the rain from the day before. Maya looked up. Walking down the floating glass staircase was a man who looked like he had been carved out of marble and nightmares. Adrian Blackwood. Maya knew the name. Everyone in the city knew the name. He wasn't just a businessman. He was the businessman. Real estate, shipping, tech, and rumors of things much darker. The underground whispered that the Blackwood family ran the city's shadow economy. He was strikingly handsome in a terrifying way. Sharp jawline, hair black as ink, and eyes that were a piercing, unnatural shade of grey. He wore a black dress shirt with the sleeves rolled up, revealing a tattoo of geometric lines on his forearm. "How do you know about the exam?" Maya asked, her defensive instincts kicking in. Adrian reached the bottom of the stairs and walked toward her. He didn't stop until he was 2 feet away, invading her personal space. He smelled of rain and sandalwood. "I know everything, Maya Sterling," he said. He held up a tablet. On the screen was a video. It was grainy security footage from the alley. It showed Maya dropping her bag. It showed her checking her watch. It showed her screaming for help and dragging the girl. "My sister Lily is alive because of you," Adrian said. His face remained impassive, but his eyes burned. "The doctors said she had ingested a lethal dose of neurotoxin B. 4 more minutes in that alley, and her heart would have stopped permanently. You sacrificed your future for a stranger." "I did what anyone would do," Maya said, lifting her chin. "No," Adrian countered, walking around her like a predator circling prey. 3 other people walked past that alley before you. They ignored her. You stopped. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a checkbook. He scribbled something rapidly, tore it out, and held it out to her. $1 million, Adrian said. "Consider it a consultation fee. Take it, and Victor will drive you anywhere you want to go." Maya looked at the check. The zeros swam before her eyes. 1 million! It would pay her rent for life. It would pay for law school. It would buy her freedom. She looked at Adrian's face. She saw the arrogance there, the belief that everything, and everyone, could be bought. It made anger flare in her chest, hot and bright. She took the check. She looked at it for a long moment. Then she ripped it in half. Adrian's eyes widened, just a fraction. "I didn't save her for money," Maya said, her voice trembling but firm. "And I don't want your payoff. If that's all, Mr. Blackwood, I'll walk home." She turned on her heel and headed for the door. "Wait." The command cracked through the air like a whip. Maya stopped. "You have no job," Adrian said, his voice dropping an octave. "You have an eviction notice on your door. You are barred from retaking the exam for 12 months. You have too much pride for your own good, Ms. Sterling." He walked closer to her. "I don't trust easy charity either. So let's make a deal. A business arrangement. Maya turned back. What kind of arrangement? Lily is fragile, Adrian said, a crack of vulnerability showing in his armor for the first time. And the incident yesterday was not an accident. Someone tried to kill her. Someone close. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. I can't trust nurses. I can't trust my own staff, Adrian hissed. I need someone who has no connection to this world. Someone who proved she values Lily's life over her own greed. I need you. I'm not a doctor, Maya said. I'm a law student. You're smart. You're observant. And you have a moral compass that is irritatingly intact, Adrian said. I want you to move in, be her personal companion, watch her, vet her visitors, taste her food, be her shadow until I find out who did this. And in return, Maya asked. In return, Adrian stepped closer, his grey eyes locking onto hers. I will not give you money. I will make a phone call to the Dean of Admissions at the Columbia School of Law. You won't just retake the exam next year. You will be admitted with a full ride. I will give you the career you sacrificed. Maya's breath hitched. Columbia. It was impossible. Why should I trust a Mafia boss? Maya asked, the words slipping out before she could stop them. The corner of Adrian's lip quirked up. A dangerous, devastating smirk. Because, Maya, I always pay my debts, and right now, I owe you a life. Moving into the Blackwood estate was like moving into a museum that was also a prison. Maya was given a suite in the East Wing, next to Lily's room. Her room was larger than her entire apartment building. It had silk sheets, a walk-in closet filled with clothes that fit her perfectly, which was terrifying. How did they know her size? And a balcony overlooking the cliffs. But she wasn't there for the luxury. On her first night, Adrian called a family dinner. This was the test. The dining room was dimly lit by a massive crystal chandelier. The table was long, made of mahogany. At the head sat Adrian, looking like a king on a dark throne. To his right was Lily, who was pale and shaky, but alive. She gave Maya a weak, grateful smile when she entered. To Adrian's left sat Uncle Dmitri. Dmitri Vane was a man who smiled too much with his mouth and never with his eyes. He was older, in his 60s, wearing a velvet smoking jacket. He was Adrian's advisor, the man who had run the family business before Adrian came of age. So this is the little savior, Dmitri purred, swirling a glass of red wine. The waitress who plays doctor. She is a guest, Dmitri, Adrian said, his voice low but cutting through the room. Treat her with respect. Of course, Dmitri said, raising his glass to Maya. To Maya, a hero. Maya sat next to Lily. As the soup was served, Maya's instincts, sharpened by years of living on the edge of poverty, were screaming. The maid placed a bowl of tomato bisque in front of Lily. Lily picked up her spoon. Wait, Maya said softly. The table went silent. Adrian stopped mid-sip of his water. Is something wrong, my dear? Dmitri asked, his smile tightening. Lily is allergic to shellfish, isn't she? Maya asked. She had read the medical file Adrian had given her earlier that afternoon. It was buried on page 40. Yes, deadly allergic, Adrian said, his gaze shifting to the soup. But this is tomato bisque. Maya picked up the spoon and sniffed it. Under the heavy scent of basil and tomato, there was a faint, briny smell. This was made with lobster stock, Maya said. She pushed the bowl away from Lily. If she eats this, her throat closes in 2 minutes. Adrian stood up so abruptly, his chair fell backward with a crash. Chef, he roared. The head chef, a trembling man named Pierre, ran into the room. Yes, sir. Did you use lobster stock in this? The chef looked at Dmitri for a split second, a micro movement. But Maya saw it, and Adrian saw it. "I ran out of vegetable stock, sir. I thought, for the flavor," the chef stammered. "Get out," Adrian said, his voice deadly calm. "Victor, escort him off the property. If I see him in Seattle again, he loses his hands." The chef was dragged away. Lily was shaking, tears streaming down her face. Dmitri dabbed his mouth with a napkin. Hard to find good help these days. "Good catch, Maya. Very impressive." Maya looked across the table at Dmitri. He wasn't scared. He was calculating. He realized she wasn't just a stray dog Adrian had picked up. She was a threat. Later that night, Maya was standing on her balcony, trying to calm her racing heart. The door to her room opened. She spun around. It was Adrian. He had shed his jacket and tie. He looked exhausted, the weight of his empire pressing down on him. He walked to the balcony railing and stood next to her, staring out at the dark ocean. "You were right," he said softly. "About the soup? About everything? The attack in the alley? The soup tonight?" He turned to her. The moonlight caught the sharp angles of his face, making him look less like a monster and more like a man haunting his own house. "They are coming for her, Maya, and I don't know how to stop it, because the enemy is sitting at my dinner table." "It's your uncle," Maya whispered. I saw him look at the chef. "I know," Adrian said. He gripped the railing until his knuckles turned white. "But Dmitri is powerful. Half the board of directors is loyal to him. If I move against him without absolute proof, I start a civil war within the family. I need evidence, hard, undeniable evidence." He turned his body toward her, closing the distance. The air between them crackled with a sudden, intense electricity. "You saved her again tonight," Adrian said. His hand came up, hovering near her face, almost touching her cheek. "I promised you a career, Maya, but I'm starting to think I might owe you much more than that." Maya's breath caught in her throat. He was dangerous. He was a criminal. He was everything she should hate. But in that moment, looking into his storm-grey eyes, she didn't feel fear. She felt a magnetic pull that was terrified her more than any gun. "I'm just doing the job," she breathed. "You're doing more than the job," he murmured. His thumb grazed her jawline. Suddenly, a loud crash came from the hallway. Adrian pulled away instantly, the mask of the Mafia Don slamming back into place. He drew a silver pistol from the waistband of his trousers in one fluid motion. "Stay here," he ordered. "Lock the door." He disappeared into the hallway. Maya didn't lock the door. She waited 3 seconds, grabbed a heavy brass candlestick from the mantel and followed him. She wasn't just a witness anymore. She was in the game. And she had a feeling that the Rolls-Royce life was about to get a whole lot bloodier. The crash in the hallway wasn't an intruder. It was a message. Lying amidst the shards of a priceless Ming vase was a brick. Taped to it was a photograph, a grainy, zoomed-in shot of Maya sleeping in her new room. The photo had been taken from the balcony. Adrian stared at the photo, his jaw working. "They are watching us, inside the house." Maya looked at the shattered porcelain, her mind racing not with fear, but with logic. "They want you to panic," she said, her voice surprisingly steady. "Dmitri is trying to provoke you into a violent reaction. If you strike him now without proof, the family council will view you as unstable. They'll vote you out. That's his play." Adrian looked at her, the rage in his eyes cooling into calculation. "You think like a strategist." "I think like a lawyer," she corrected. "If this were a court case, Dmitri is trying to discredit the witness before the trial. We need discovery. We need paper." For the next 2 weeks, The Blackwood estate became a war room. To the outside world, Adrian was conducting business as usual. To the staff, Maya was just the pampered companion of the fragile Lily. But at night, inside Adrian's soundproofed study, they worked. Maya pored over the Blackwood shipping manifests, financial statements, and tax records. It was tedious, mind-numbing work, but Maya had an eye for patterns. She found anomalies in the fuel costs for the shipping fleet, payments going to a shell company in the Cayman Islands called Cerberus Holdings. Cerberus, Maya muttered, rubbing her tired eyes. It was 3 a.m. Three-headed dog guarding the underworld. Subtle. Adrian was sitting across from her, shirt sleeves rolled up, watching her work. He had been watching her for an hour, fascinated not just by her intellect, but by her resilience. "Dimitri owns Cerberus," Adrian said, "but we can't prove it. The ownership is buried under 5 layers of LLCs. "I can prove it," Maya said, tapping the screen. "Look at the authorization signatures on the fuel receipts. They are digital stamps, but look at the timestamp metadata." She spun the laptop around. "The authorization for the transfers happens every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Where is Dimitri every Tuesday at 9 a.m.? Adrian's eyes narrowed. He has a standing appointment at the Vane Gentlemen's Club downtown, a private room, no electronics allowed. "Exactly," Maya said, a triumphant smile lighting up her face. "He's not doing it digitally. He's doing it physically. He's signing a physical ledger or using a hard-line terminal inside that club to bypass your cybersecurity. The evidence isn't in the cloud, Adrian. It's in that club." Adrian stood up, pacing. The Vane Club is a fortress, members only, men only, and Dimitri's private room is guarded by 2 former Spetsnaz. "So we don't break in?" Maya said. "We get invited." "Impossible." "Not impossible," Maya countered. "Next Saturday is the founders' ball at the club. Wives and mistresses are allowed. You're a member." "Take me." "It's too dangerous," Adrian said immediately. "If Dimitri catches you sniffing around his office—" "He won't catch me," Maya said, standing up to meet his gaze. "Because he thinks I'm just a charity case, a waitress. He underestimates me. That's our weapon." Adrian walked around the desk. He stopped inches from her. The air in the room grew heavy again, charged with the unsaid. "You are not a waitress, Maya," he said, his voice rough. "You are the most formidable woman I have ever met." He reached out, tucking a stray lock of hair behind her ear. His fingers lingered on her neck. Maya leaned into his touch, her heart pounding against her ribs. "If we do this," Adrian whispered, "you need to trust me completely. If things go wrong, I will burn that building to the ground to get you out. Do you understand?" "I trust you," she whispered back. He leaned down. His lips brushed hers, a feather-light contact that sent a shockwave through her body. It wasn't a ravishing kiss. It was a promise, a seal on a pact. "Then let's go hunting," he said. The Vane Gentlemen's Club was a relic of a bygone era, dark mahogany, smell of cigar smoke, and the murmur of old money-making illegal deals. On the night of the founders' ball, the club was transformed. Chandeliers sparkled, a string quartet played Mozart, and the city's elite mingled with champagne flutes. And then Adrian Blackwood entered. The room went quiet. He wore a tuxedo that fit him like a second skin. But all eyes were on the woman on his arm. Maya wore a dress of blood-red silk. It was backless, with a slit that ran up her thigh, and it moved like liquid fire. She wore diamonds around her neck, a gift from Adrian, that cost more than the neighborhood she grew up in. She didn't look like a poor student. She looked like a queen. "Keep your breathing steady," Adrian murmured in her ear as they descended the stairs. Victor is by the north exit. I will distract Dmitri near the bar." "And the office?" she asked, keeping a plastered smile on her face. "Third floor. Keycard access. I lifted Dmitri's master pass from his jacket when he arrived. I'll slip it to you when we dance." It was a heist straight out of a movie, but the sweat trickling down Maya's back was very real. They moved through the crowd. Dmitri was there, holding court near the fireplace. When he saw them, his eyes lingered on Maya, not with attraction, but with suspicion. "Adrian," Dmitri boomed, spreading his arms, "and the little nurse, you clean up well." "She cleans up better than your conscience, uncle," Adrian said with a cold smile. Dmitri laughed, but the sound didn't reach his eyes. "Enjoy the party. It might be the last one for a while." The threat was veiled, but clear. Adrian led Maya to the dance floor. As the orchestra swelled, he pulled her close. His hand on her waist was firm, protective. "He knows something is up," Adrian whispered. "He's paranoid," Maya replied. "Spin me." He spun her. In the blur of motion, he pressed a cold plastic card into her palm. Maya palmed it instantly. "Go now," he said. "I'll cause a scene." Maya slipped away from the dance floor, heading toward the ladies' room. Once out of sight, she kicked off her heels and sprinted toward the service stairwell. She climbed to the third floor. Her heart was a jackhammer. She swiped the card. Click. The heavy oak door to Dmitri's private suite opened. The room was filled with hunting trophies, stuffed lion heads and bear skins. It was grotesque. Maya went straight to the wall safe behind the painting of a ship. Adrian had told her the combination. Dmitri's mother's birthday. Right 12, left 04, right 28. The safe clicked open. Inside, there was no money, just a single, thick, black ledger. "Gotcha," Maya whispered. She grabbed the book. She turned to leave. The door handle turned. Maya froze. There was nowhere to hide. The desk was too open. The curtains were sheer. She did the only thing she could. She threw the ledger behind a row of encyclopedias on the bookshelf and sat on the edge of the desk, crossing her legs, trying to look bored. The door opened. It wasn't Dmitri, it was Leo, Dmitri's head of security, a man with a neck as thick as a tree trunk. He stared at her. "Ms. Sterling, you are far from the party." "I was looking for the powder room," Maya lied smoothly. "I got turned around. This place is a maze." Leo didn't blink. "The powder room is on the first floor. This is a restricted area." He walked toward her. He saw the open safe. His hand went to his holster. "You shouldn't be here," Leo growled. Maya didn't scream. She grabbed a heavy crystal decanter of whiskey from the desk and swung it with all her might. Crash. The glass shattered against Leo's head. He stumbled back, roaring in pain, blood blinding him. Maya grabbed the ledger from the bookshelf and ran. She bolted past him, out the door, and into the hallway. "Stop her!" Leo screamed into his radio. The alarm began to blare. Maya took the stairs 3 at a time. She burst into the ballroom, breathless, the black book clutched to her chest. The music stopped. Everyone turned. Adrian saw her. He saw the blood on her hands. From the glass, he saw the book. "Get to the car!" Adrian roared, pulling a gun from his tuxedo jacket. Pandemonium erupted. Screams. Dmitri's men drew weapons. Victor appeared from the shadows, firing 2 shots into the ceiling to create chaos. Adrian grabbed Maya's hand, and they ran. Bullets chipped the plaster of the walls around them. They burst out the front doors into the cool night air. The Rolls-Royce screeched to the curb, rear door already open. They dove inside. "Go! Go!" Adrian shouted at the driver. As the car peeled away, tires smoking, Maya slumped against the leather seat. She was shaking uncontrollably. Adrian pulled her into his arms, checking her for injuries. "Are you hit? Are you hurt?" "I'm fine," she gasped, holding up the black book. I got it. I got the ledger." Adrian looked at the book, then at her. He grabbed her face and kissed her, hard, desperate, full of adrenaline and fear. "You crazy, brilliant woman," he breathed against her lips. "You did it." But the victory was short-lived. Maya's phone buzzed, a text message. She looked at the screen. Her blood ran cold. It was a picture of Lily. She was tied to a chair, a piece of duct tape over her mouth. The text read, "Bring the book to the docks. Warehouse 4. 1 hour, or the sister dies." The drive to the docks was silent. The air in the Rolls-Royce was thick with the scent of doom. Adrian was reloading his weapon, his movements mechanical. "I should have known," he said, his voice devoid of emotion, which was terrifying. Dimitri knew we would go for the ledger. He used the gala as a distraction to get to Lily. He bought off the guards at the house. "We can't give him the book," Maya said. "If we give it to him, he destroys the evidence, kills Lily, and kills us. It's his only leverage." "I don't care about the evidence," Adrian snapped, slamming his fist into the seat. "It's my sister, Maya." "I know." Maya grabbed his hand. "But think, Adrian. You're the king of the city. Act like it. If we walk in there with just the book, we lose. We need insurance." "What kind of insurance?" Maya looked out of the window at the passing streetlights. "We call the one group Dimitri hates more than you." "The feds?" Adrian scoffed. "They'll arrest me, too." "Not if you give them a bigger fish," Maya said. "You give them Dimitri. You give them the ledger. But we don't give it to them now. We live stream it." Adrian looked at her. "Explain." "We go into the warehouse. I hold the book. I set up my phone to stream the audio to a secure server, maybe a contact at the Times or the FBI tip line. If Dimitri admits to the crimes, or if he kills us, it goes public instantly. It's a dead man's switch." Adrian stared at her. "You are willing to risk your life for this family?" "I'm already in the family, aren't I?" she asked softly. Adrian squeezed her hand. "Until the end." Warehouse 4 was a cavern of rusted metal and shadows. The smell of sea salt and rotting fish hung in the air. Adrian walked in first, hands raised. Maya followed a step behind, clutching the ledger. In the center of the room, under a single hanging bulb, sat Lily. A man held a gun to her head. Dimitri stood in the shadows, smoking a cigarette. "Welcome to the family reunion," Dimitri sneered. "I see you brought my property." "Let her go, Dimitri," Adrian said, his voice echoing. "You want the book? Here it is." "First the book," Dimitri said. "No." Maya stepped forward. Her heart was hammering so hard she thought it would bruise her ribs. "We trade, simultaneously. You let Lily walk to us, I walk the book to you." Dimitri looked at Maya with amusement. "You have guts, little girl. Stupid, but gutsy." "Fine." He nodded to the gunman. The man shoved Lily forward. Maya began to walk forward. They met in the middle. Maya grabbed Lily's hand and squeezed it. "Run," she whispered. As Lily bolted toward Adrian, Maya continued toward Dimitri. She held out the book. Dimitri grabbed it. He smiled, a grotesque twisting of lips. "You really thought I'd let you leave?" He pulled a gun from his jacket and aimed it at Adrian. "Kill them all," Dimitri ordered his men. "Wait!" Maya screamed. She held up her phone. The screen was glowing red. "Live broadcast." "Say hello to the internet, Dimitri," Maya yelled. "And the FBI Cybercrimes Division. 15,000 people are listening to this right now. You just confessed to kidnapping and extortion." Dimitri froze. He looked at the phone. For a second, fear flickered in his eyes. That second was all Adrian needed. Bang! Adrian's shot was true. It hit the gunman holding the weapon on Lily. The warehouse erupted into chaos. Dimitri's men opened fire. Adrian flipped a table for cover, shoving Lily behind it. Maya was exposed. She was standing next to Dimitri. Dimitri snarled, realizing his life was over. If he was going down, he was taking the cause of his downfall with him. He raised his gun at Maya. Maya saw the barrel. She saw the flash. She didn't feel the pain immediately. She just felt the impact, like a sledgehammer to the chest. She flew backward, hitting the concrete hard. No! Adrian's scream was a sound of pure, animalistic agony. Adrian stood up from cover, ignoring the bullets flying around him. He walked toward Dimitri, firing with dual pistols like an avenging angel. One shot took Dimitri in the knee, the second in the shoulder, the third shattered his gun hand. Dimitri fell, screaming. Victor and the backup team burst through the skylights, rappelling down on ropes. The warehouse was secured in seconds. Adrian dropped his guns and fell to his knees beside Maya. The red dress was turning a darker shade of crimson. She was gasping for air, pink froth on her lips. "Maya," Adrian choked out, pressing his hands over the wound in her chest. "Look at me. Stay with me." Did we win?" she whispered, her voice bubbling. "We won," Adrian sobbed, tears cutting tracks through the grime on his face. "We got him. The police are coming. You're going to be a lawyer, remember? You have to go to Colombia." "Rolls-Royce." She smiled faintly, her eyes drifting toward the ceiling. "Nice car." Her eyes closed. "Maya, Maya." The sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer, but they sounded miles away. The first thing Maya noticed was the sound. It wasn't the ocean crashing against the cliffs of the Blackwood estate, nor the rumble of a Rolls-Royce engine. It was a rhythmic, mechanical beeping. Beep, beep, beep. The second thing she noticed was the pain. It radiated from her chest, a dull, heavy ache that felt like an elephant was sitting on her ribs. She tried to open her eyes, but her eyelids felt like they were made of lead. She forced them open, just a crack. The world was a blur of sterile white light and chrome. "She's waking up." The voice was rough, cracked, and familiar. It sounded like a man who hadn't spoken or slept in days. Maya blinked, trying to bring the room into focus. Slowly, the blurry shape beside her bed coalesced into a face. It was Adrian, but not the Adrian she knew. The perfectly tailored suit was gone, replaced by a wrinkled black t-shirt. His hair, usually slicked back with military precision, was disheveled. And his face? His face was covered in a 5-day shadow, his eyes rimmed with dark, bruised circles. He looked wrecked. He looked human. "Adrian," she croaked. Her throat felt like it was filled with broken glass. "I'm here," he whispered, leaning forward to grip her hand. His hand was trembling. "I'm right here, Maya. Don't try to move. You've been in a medically induced coma for 6 days." 6 days? The panic flared instantly. "Lily? The ledger?" "Lily is safe," Adrian soothed, brushing the hair off her forehead with a tenderness that made her heart ache. "She's with Victor at a safe house in the Hamptons. And the ledger did its job." Maya let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. She tried to squeeze his hand, but her grip was weak. "Dimitri?" Adrian's expression hardened, the old shadow passing over his face for a split second. "Dimitri is in federal custody. He survived the shooting, barely. He's currently handcuffed to a hospital bed in the prison ward." "The live stream you started? It was watched by 15,000 people live, and 3 million by the next morning. There was nowhere for him to hide. The FBI picked up the rest of his crew within the hour." "And you?" Maya asked, searching his eyes. "You were there. You shot him." Adrian looked away, staring at the heart monitor, as if reading a fortune in the green lines. "I made a deal." Maya tried to sit up, but the pain forced her back down with a gasp. What kind of deal? The kind that ends the Blackwood criminal legacy, Adrian said quietly. I handed over the encryption keys to the offshore accounts. I gave them the routes, the contacts, the shell companies, everything. I turned state's evidence against my own organization. Adrian, Maya whispered, you destroyed your empire. I destroyed a prison, he corrected, looking back at her. I traded a lifetime of looking over my shoulder for a chance to sit in this chair. My lawyers negotiated immunity for the shooting, defense of a third party. I plead guilty to financial negligence and paid a fine that wiped out half my liquid assets. I'm on probation for 5 years, but I'm not in a cell. I'm here. He lifted her hand to his lips and kissed her knuckles. When you fell, he choked out, his voice breaking. When I saw the blood on that red dress, I didn't care about the money, the power, or the family name. I realized I would burn the whole world down just to hear you breathe again. A tear slipped from his eye, landing on her skin. It was hot, searing. It was the first time she had ever seen Adrian Blackwood cry. The recovery was brutal. Maya spent 3 weeks in the hospital, followed by 2 months of physical therapy. The bullet had missed her heart by less than an inch, shattering a rib and puncturing her lung. Every breath was a battle. But she didn't fight alone. The media storm outside was relentless. The girl in the red dress became a national icon. Headlines screamed, "Student saves Mafia heiress, the live stream hero. Poor girl takes down crime syndicate." Every news outlet wanted an interview. Literary agents were calling with book deals. Movie producers were circling. Adrian kept them all away. He moved Maya back to the cliffside estate, which was now quieter. The armed guards were gone, replaced by a modest private security detail. The tension that used to suffocate the house had lifted, replaced by the salty sea breeze. One rainy Tuesday in November, Maya was sitting in the library, staring at the rain lashing against the floor-to-ceiling windows. Her movement was still stiff, and she tired easily. Adrian walked in, carrying a tray of tea. He placed it on the table and sat opposite her. "You're brooding," he noted. "I'm thinking," she corrected. "About what?" "About Eto de l'Am," she said softly. "The exam. It's been months. The admission cycle is closed. The headlines will fade, Adrian. And when they do, I'm just a college dropout with a gunshot wound and no degree." She felt a wave of bitterness. She didn't regret saving Lily, never that. But the loss of her dream was a phantom limb she couldn't ignore. She had fought so hard to escape poverty, and now she felt like a charity case in a rich man's house. Adrian stood up and walked to the bookshelf. He pulled down a thick, cream-colored envelope and tossed it onto her lap. "I told you I always pay my debts," he said. Maya picked up the envelope. It was heavy. The return address was embossed in gold. Columbia University School of Law, Office of the Dean. Her hands shook as she tore it open. "Dear Ms. Sterling, in light of the extraordinary circumstances surrounding your absence from the Washington State Bar exam, and upon review of your undergraduate records and the personal recommendation of District Attorney Marcus Thorne," Maya looked up, eyes wide. "The District Attorney? The man who was trying to put you in jail?" "He owes me," Adrian shrugged. "I made his career by handing him Dmitri. I asked for one favor in return." She looked back at the letter. "We are pleased to offer you admission to the Juris Doctor program for the spring semester. Furthermore, an anonymous donor has established the Sterling Scholarship in your name, covering full tuition, room, and board for the duration of your studies." Maya read the letter twice, then a third time. Tears blurred her vision. It wasn't just a second chance. It was a better chance. Columbia was Ivy League. It was the pinnacle. "You did this," she whispered. "You did this," Adrian said firmly. "You showed the world what kind of person you are. I just made sure the right people were watching." Maya stood up, ignoring the twinge in her chest, and threw her arms around his neck. Adrian caught her, holding her carefully, as if she were made of glass. "Thank you," she sobbed into his shoulder. "There is one catch," Adrian said, pulling back slightly to look at her. Maya wiped her eyes. "What?" "Columbia is in New York," he said. His face was neutral, unreadable. "My probation requires me to remain in Washington State for the next 12 months. I can't leave the jurisdiction without a federal judge's approval." The air left the room. "So," Maya said, her voice trembling, "I go alone." "You have to go," Adrian said. "It's your dream, Maya. You can't stay here in this house, haunting the hallways, wondering what if. You need to go be the fierce lawyer you were born to be." "And us?" she asked, the question hanging between them like a blade. Adrian cupped her face. "We survive bullets and poison, Maya. We can survive distance. Go to New York. Conquer the city. I'll be here when you get back." It felt like a goodbye. A noble, heart-breaking goodbye. 6 months later. New York City in the spring was a chaotic symphony of honking taxis, blooming cherry blossoms, and the smell of roasting nuts. Maya loved it. She walked out of the heavy iron gates of Columbia University, her backpack heavy with casebooks on constitutional law. She was exhausted. She had spent the last 3 nights in the library, fueled by espresso and sheer determination. She was at the top of her class. She was unstoppable. But she was also lonely. She checked her phone. No texts. She and Adrian spoke every Sunday, rigid, scheduled calls. He was rebuilding his legitimate shipping logistics company. She was drowning in taunts. The conversations were warm, but the physical distance was an ache that never went away. She missed his silence. She missed the way he looked at her when he thought she wasn't looking. She walked down the crowded sidewalk, heading toward the subway. She was just another face in the crowd here. No one knew about the Mafia. No one knew about the girl in the red dress. "Ms. Sterling," a voice stopped her, a deep, gravelly baritone that she hadn't heard in half a year. She froze. She turned around slowly. Parked at the curb in a no-standing zone was a phantom black Rolls-Royce. It was gleaming, an alien object amidst the dirty yellow cabs. Standing beside the open rear door was Victor. He looked exactly the same, massive, terrifying, and wearing a suit that cost more than her tuition. "Victor," she gasped, "what are you doing here?" "Boss got tired of Zoom calls," Victor grunted. He stepped aside. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. She walked to the car and peered inside. Adrian was sitting there. He looked different again. He looked healthy. The darkness that used to cling to him like a shroud was gone. He was wearing a navy peacoat and a scarf, looking every bit the New York tycoon. "You're in violation of your probation," was the first thing Maya said. Adrian laughed, a rich, genuine sound. "Hello to you too, counselor. And for your information, my lawyers successfully petitioned for a transfer of jurisdiction. It seems New York is the hub of global shipping. I need to be here for business." "Business?" Maya raised an eyebrow, a smile tugging at her lips. "Strictly business," Adrian said, his eyes dancing. He patted the leather seat beside him. "Get in." Maya dropped her backpack on the sidewalk, just like she had in the alley all those months ago, and climbed into the car. As soon as the door clicked shut, shutting out the noise of the city, Adrian pulled her into a kiss that stole her breath away. It was desperate and hungry, erasing 6 months of separation in 6 seconds. When they finally broke apart, Adrian rested his forehead against hers. "I bought a place," he murmured. Upper East Side, 5 bedrooms, a library with a rolling ladder, and a very high-tech security system, just in case. You moved here? Maya asked, breathless. For me. I couldn't sleep in Seattle, he admitted softly. It was too quiet without you. He reached into his pocket. Maya expected a ring box. Instead, he pulled out a single golden key. I don't want you to be my guest, Maya, he said, his voice serious. I don't want you to be my employee, or my savior, or my charity case. I want you to be my partner. In everything. The lease is in both our names. The company has a position open for legal counsel. Once you pass the bar, of course. Maya took the key. It felt warm in her hand. She thought back to that rainy morning in Seattle. The choice she made in 7 minutes. She had thought she was throwing her life away. She had been so wrong. She hadn't thrown it away. She had traded it for something she never knew existed. I have finals in 2 weeks, she warned him, grinning. I'm going to be a nightmare to live with. Stress eating, pacing at 3 a.m., reciting statutes in my sleep. I look forward to it, Adrian said. He tapped on the glass partition. Victor, take us home. The engine purred to life, a low, powerful rumble. Maya leaned her head on Adrian's shoulder as the Rolls-Royce pulled into the traffic of Broadway. She watched the city pass by through the tinted glass, the lights blurring into streaks of gold. She had missed her exam, but she had passed the test. Where are we going for dinner? She asked. Adrian smiled, interlacing his fingers with hers. Somewhere with no lobster bisque. Maya laughed, the sound bright and free. The car sped up, carrying them not away from danger, but toward a future that was finally, truly theirs. Maya Sterling started with nothing but a missed exam and a broken heart. She ended up with a law degree, an empire, and a love worth dying for. It proves that sometimes the worst moment of your life is actually the door to your destiny. Maya didn't just save a girl in that alley. She saved herself.